there are 5 automatic bids to the college football playoff, right? 4 get a bye, which those are going to be the winner, all right, of the conference championship game of the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, and the Big 10. 99% chance that happens. But that 5th automatic spot, right, that goes to the 5th highest rated conference, which will be a quote-unquote group of 5 conference. I think, that's going to be one of the most interesting things to watch this year. You look at the AAC, even though they've been hurt a little bit by conference realignment, you see some of the teams that left there that went to the Big 12 and so on and so forth. The Mountain West, right? We see what we got going on with, that conference. You got Oregon State and Washington State playing basically a Mountain West schedule as well because they weren't brought to the dance in either the Big 12, the Big 10, or the ACC. Then you look at the Sun Belt, a.k.a. Fun Belt, who's had a big come-up.
Oh, yeah.
But my team that I think, the group of 5 team that is going to make the college football playoff, give me Memphis. Throw that schedule up there. And I'll tell you why. And I know, right, when you compare it to everybody else's schedule that we're going to bring up here, it's way harder. All right, now I'm going to go through the schedule, then I want to talk about the team. You got North Alabama week 1. You got Troy week 2. Both of those are at home. You go to Florida State, September 14th. All right, and I'm going to get to that. You go to Navy, which is always tough. You get Middle Tennessee at home, at South Florida, which is getting a lot harder with what Golish is doing there. You get North Texas at home. Charlotte and Her Webb come to visit you on October 6th at home. You go to UTSA, Rice at home, UAB at home, and then at Tulane. When I look at this team, Seth Hennigan, the dude's thrown for like almost 80 touchdowns, like over 10,000 yards. He only has 25 interceptions. He's an NFL quarterback. I think he's the top 5 quarterback in the country. I like what Silverfield's doing. He's an old offensive lineman. But look at the skill players around them, okay? You bring in South Carolina's running back. You brought in one of South Carolina's offensive tackles, okay? Then you look at Rock Taylor, who's a stud. They've got a Blankumsey, I believe is his last name, is their number 2 guy, is an absolute stud. The question with Memphis, and I think they've answered some of this through the transfer portal, is offensive line, because the 3 games they lost last year were the 3 games where they rushed for under 100 yards. And Silverfield understands the need of balance. Yes, you have Seth Hennigan. You want to sling that thing around, but you've got to be able to have balance to beat these better teams than you, like a Florida State, which is going to be humongous. Then you look on the defensive side. I like what they've done through the transfer portal over there. They weren't great last year, especially getting to the quarterback. I think they're going to be a little bit better. But you also, in my opinion, if you're going to get that 5th spot, you got to beat somebody on that schedule. How did Cincinnati get into the 14 playoff? Well, they beat Notre Dame. They won some big games. They had to go and beat, not just play the big dogs, but beat them. But David, even if they go 11-1, and let's say you lose to Florida State, and Florida State has a good year in the ACC, I'm not even saying that they're going to win it. I think there's a really good chance, because you had that strength of schedule, even though the AAC is a little bit clipped down because of conference realignment, that the AAC could be the 5th best conference, or who knows, you could sneak in and get in at large.
Yeah, there's a chance if your only loss was Florida State, hey, you got to beat Tulane. You really got to win the rest of the schedule.
You got to win the rest. You got to go 11-1.
Which this is a great contrast to the team I want to bring up, which is Liberty. Now, look, my heart's with Georgia Southern for the group of 5, but my head's with Liberty.
But your body.
Look, Liberty, first season last year under Coach Jamie Chadwell, who was coming over from Coastal Carolina. First season in Conference USA, and what did they do? 13-1. Their only loss was to Oregon, albeit pretty bad loss in the bowl game. But 13-1 a year ago. Here's their schedule right here. Campbell, New Mexico State, UTEP, ECU. They get ECU at home, though. They do have to play App State on the road. They got FIU at home, Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State. They play at Middle Tennessee. That'll be a tough one. At UMass, Western Kentucky at home, and then Sam Houston. Caden Salter, remember?
Yeah.
Caden Salter's coming back.
I was hoping he'd go to Auburn.
I'd like to ask you guys and talk after this about why you think he didn't go join Hugh Freeze at Auburn, but let's just break down his stats from a year ago. 2,800 yards passing, 61% completion percentage, 32 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This Liberty team is bringing that guy back to play quarterback. I bring up this schedule for this reason. To contrast it with the Memphis schedule you just said that has Florida State on there, and App State, who we're not breaking down today, but App State has Clemson on their schedule. There's no Power 4 teams on that schedule there, which means you won't get the benefit of the doubt with strengths of schedule at the end. But if you do what you did last year, and they're sitting there at 12-0 at the end of the year, how do you not put them in even if App State or Memphis has 1 loss?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, and I can't believe I forgot this. Is Liberty independent?
No, they're Conference USA.
They're Conference USA. That's right. So,
but they were.
They were. I just don't think. And again, you really never say never, but I feel pretty confident in saying this. I don't think Conference USA has a chance to be the 5th highest rated conference with the teams that they have. So that automatic qualifier goes to the winner of that 5th highest rated conference, which in my opinion is probably going to come down to the AAC, the Mountain West, and the Sun Belt. So to me, that says Liberty has to go undefeated and get an at-large bid.
Which I don't think is going to happen. So to me, they have to get the group of 5.
So so you have to have multiple things lined up here, which they could. But again, there's a ton of carnage at the end. This is what's going to be fascinating to me. You're going to get that automatic, and we've talked about this, and some people you were like, you guys are crazy thinking that 2 group of 5 teams could possibly get in. But there is a scenario in my mind where, let's just play a game of Boise State wins the Mountain West. Okay, and they're the automatic qualifier that gets in from that 5th highest ranked conference. Let's say Liberty goes 12-0. And we're talking probably the last spot, the 12th spot. You can't have Notre Dame get in and Liberty get in, I don't think. So let's say Notre Dame doesn't get in. And we're talking about that 12th spot. And let's say we're looking and man, Tennessee is 9-3. Okay, 9-3. Does a 9-3 SEC team or a 9-3 Big Ten team, let's say Iowa goes 9-3, do they get in or get that last at-large spot over an undefeated Liberty?
I think so. I don't think 2 group of 5 teams will get in this first year, especially when they're already handing them an automatic qualifier.
You think they should, though? And with that schedule, do you think Liberty?
I'll say what I said yesterday. I need to see them play football first. When we watch them play football, and we say that's one of the best football teams in the country, okay, then you can convince me. I don't think it helps the way Liberty lost to Oregon in the bowl game.
That's why the eye test should be a part of it.
I'll tell you right now. Look, App State plays Clemson, right? Let's say App State loses to Clemson, and then Liberty goes to App State and beats them, and then Memphis doesn't beat Florida State or Tulane. Tulane has 2 losses. A couple of those other schools have 2 losses. That's where you could start to see maybe an undefeated team like this.
And maybe this is just the Alabama boy in me. I get so jacked, like jacked and juiced up seeing Jacksonville State be like legit D1 now. Like it's just, I had so many buddies that went there out of high school and that I played with growing up.
I did too. Is Rich Rod still the head coach?
Oh, yeah. Rich Rod. Sam Houston's up now. I remember Sam Houston was running shop in FCS a little bit before they got up here. Flaming Dragon, who you got?
Look, I had to dive in the barrel a little bit for this one, but bring me up Texas State. If you can throw for 3,400 yards and 24 touchdowns with TJ Finley, buddy, I can believe you can do it with anybody. And this year, they did go get the quarterback from James Madison, Jordan McLeod.
He's nice.
You have 5 of your 6 top catching receivers returning. Your offensive line is old. You have a great running back, 5'9", 160-pound scat back. What's going to be the problem? It's turnovers in defense. If you could play some sort of defense, as simple as a defense, you had almost 6,000 yards in the Sun Belt, Fun Belt last year. Look, Texas State, I believe. Let's go through the schedule. Lamar at home, UTSA at home, Arizona State at home.
At home. You get Arizona State at home on a short week.
Sam Houston at home at Troy. Arkansas State at home at Old Dominion. Louisiana at home at UL Monroe. Southern Miss at home. Georgia State at home. And you finish on the road at South Alabama. Doable schedule. It's going to be a lot of close games. If they find their right side, on the right side of the ball bouncing their way, I could see it happening.
Well, I mean, if the Sun Belt ends up being that 5th highest rated conference, which I think there's a chance that it could be.
I think so too.
I mean, you look at the teams that are in there, it's pretty interesting. There's been a lot of movement, though. Obviously Troy's coach going to Tulane because Willie Fritz went to Houston. Kane Womack from South Alabama goes up to be the DC at Alabama. Georgia State's head coach joins the South Carolina staff, right, as an assistant. I think that Arizona State game, I know Arizona State's probably not going to be that great this year under Dillingham. They're trying to get it back going out of there after it basically got, just crumbled before their eyes. But that's still kind of a marquee win if you can win that game. And you probably will be almost as good as Arizona State. Flamey, do you think the Sun Belt has to be the 5th? Like they have to win the Sun Belt and the Sun Belt has to be the 5th?
100%.
Even if they go undefeated with that?
100%, yeah.
Let me ask you all this, and the phone lines are open, 1-855-236-3228. If Memphis loses at Florida State and goes 11-1, and Texas State goes 12-0, and let's just say 9, who should get in?
I think we apply the eye test there to see who was the better team. But man, that Memphis team's going to be tough to keep out,
Yeah.
especially for the style
What if
of
it's
football.
close? Yeah, especially if it's close with like Florida State. Like,
Yeah.
they go on the road and they just don't get beat to death. That's fascinating. So you got Texas State. I'm going Memphis. David's going Liberty. Some people are going to be like, oh, you didn't pick Boise State, Tulane. It's going to be interesting under Coach Summerall. So that's what's going to be fascinating with this group of 5 stuff, man.
I still think we should break down App State and Tulane.
Oh, there's
and
more.
Georgia Southern,
Yeah,
and a
there's
couple other ones,
more,
you
too.
know?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
What's up, YouTube? Appreciate you guys stopping by. Hey, listen, if you don't mind, that subscribe button. If you haven't, if you have, get somebody else to subscribe. And if you've already done that, then get everyone to subscribe.